Hi, this is my case study on internet use violations. Problem identification, what do I know? I know the school, it's a Roosevelt High School, is a fluent area. Parents are professionals. I know that with the principal, Dr. Stephen Forbes, have been principal of Roosevelt High School for 9 years. Dr. Forbes is respected by parents and focused on the reputation of the school. He's also works really hard to hire highly qualified applicants. I do also know that he's very respected in the community, and he takes a lot of pride in what he does. About Mrs. Walker, I know she's hired as a beginning teacher. This is her second year at Roosevelt High School. Qualifications include a bachelor's, master's, and a year of postgraduate school. She isn't married, which, well, it's what I know. Classroom is focused on academics. We do know that students are, her classroom is described as structured, rigorous, and high levels of stress for students. Mr. Forbes has made suggestions while being in her room because of the comments from parents and students. However, she has not implemented any of those suggestions. And we know that parents, again, are unhappy regarding her instruction and class workload along with students. What I know is after returning home from a long weekend, Mrs. Walker received an email that told her to view a website. This website had highly suggestive comments about her personal behaviors and critical comments that were very alarming to Mrs. Walker. The final comment stated, "Who wants Mrs. Walker to disappear?" Mrs. Walker was very upset. She contacted Dr. Forbes regarding the site and comments. Mr. Forbes said, tried to calm her down, said, give me the link or send me the email. He looked, he said, we're going to have to talk about this in the morning. That he understood her concern and that he would meet with her in the morning, asked her who she thought had done it, and they would be discussing it in the morning. What do I need to know is when did the problems with Randy start? She was really quick to throw out a name and saying that this student has done this, he's been disrespectful. So I would really like to know when that problem started. Has anyone been notified? You have problems with Randy. Have you documented it? Have you notified parents? What consequences have you given Randy because of this? Did Mrs. Walker document, again, any of these incidents or her concerns from the past? Where was the website developed? I would like to know. I mean, we know that high school students and middle school students and maybe even some elementary students are they can create websites. Technology is in the hands of a kindergartner. So was this at school or at home? Again, I think that has higher implications of, what is district policy? They're using our server or our equipment to create these kind of things. And I do think that makes how the problem's going to be solved different. Who is involved? A lot of times students are not acting alone. Again, there was comments made. I think that those need to be looked at also. Has the students been in trouble before? Again, whether it's Randy or any other student, that when we find out, who else might be involved? What other comments were made? Identify the problem. I feel that there are two problem areas. However, I do know that the major problem here is the threat, the internet, how it was used, the email that was sent to Mrs. Walker. So the major problem needs to be taken care of immediately. My theory, though, is I really feel like we have an underlying problem here that has to be addressed that led to the major problem. I'm not saying that every case it's the teacher's fault. However, in this case study, I do believe that there are some things going on that need to be taken care of once this major problem is taken care of. So what I'm going to do to take care of this plan, first thing I'm going to notify the superintendent. I really, on Monday morning, I'm going to call. I really think that the superintendent needs to know what's going on, needs to be involved in this process, just because we don't know what get rid of her meant. So we need to take care of that. The district technology department will be contacted, and they're going to know about what's going on. We'll probably have a meeting. In that meeting, we'll all sit around and take a look at the documents, kind of go which directions, kind of keep it, you want to keep it hush. You don't want to alarm any students, let the students know what's going on, because things like that can spread like wildfire. The department can possibly find out the address the email came from, If it was done at the school server, this will eliminate assuming and will allow Dr. Forbes to have a starting point. I'm going to meet with Mrs. Walker to discuss her concerns and reasonings behind why she believes it's Randy. Her thought, also I'm going to ask her for any documentations on any students behavior-wise that have taken place in her class so that we can take a look at that. I'm going to give Mrs. Walker a day off. I know that she was upset when she had called the principal. I really think it's important that maybe she just take a day off, relax, let us kind of investigate and see what's going on so she doesn't feel threatened and she feels safe. Find out the email. If we find out where the email came from, the student will be questions regarding the email. This allows for minimal disruptions in the classroom and other students. This will possibly lead to finding out more information regarding the website. So if we find out that the email was generated at school and we were able to track that back, and then we have a good starting point. If it's not, I think other students need to be questioned within the classroom. Based on the teacher's concern with the student, I would start with Randy and maybe other names. Discussion. With that discussion with Randy Franks, I think the student should be asked if he knows anything about the website. I think the conversation should be only about the incident that Mrs. Walker came across, and that's it. It should be shown, not even shown to him, just, hey, what do you know? Have that respect and that rapport. Hopefully, Dr. Forbes, with what I know about him, he has that with the students. The students should never feel threatened into saying something that possibly isn't true. I would do this in a non-threatening way without Mrs. Walker being present. Documentation will be taken during the meeting. I feel that with any important cases, or whether it be talking to a parent, documentation is key. You never know when you may need it. Mrs. Walker, I have to do this because, again, there's an underlying problem. It needs to be addressed with Mrs. Walker after this big problem is fixed. I would really highly encourage her to do some professional development, to attend workshops on building rapport with students along with behavior management. This might give her some ideas and reasons why there's a problem with students in her classroom. And I'm hoping after this incident she kind of reflects upon herself and said, why are these students upset with me? What am I doing? We need to have that dialogue. Those principals, I am a firm believer, and those leaders are coming in to help you, to give you sound advice, because there are leaders, and things need to be implemented, especially when students are not being successful. To prevent future problems, and again, I always look through the long haul, the long run. How are we going to keep this from happening again? When all of this is said and done and we figure out who actually sent the email on the website, students need to be taught about internet issues. I think by educating students on the consequences of internet violations and threat, it's going to eliminate any future problems. Students need to have a plan of action if a website or email is known. If they come across one, what do they do? Students need to know this. All the student body, faculty, and parents should be educated regarding district policy. Consequences need to be communicated to all stakeholders. I do feel like there needs to be a district policy in place with technology. I know many of them have, but is it communicated? That is key. There needs to be a firm, like I said, district policy in place where all stakeholders, they know the actions and consequences of violations. Promoting the success, what's best for students. Students need a safe and learning environment. They need expectations regarding learning and behavior to be clearly established, and that goes along with technology use. How might this issues resolved? Well, after investigating Dr. Forbes and questioning Randy admitted to creating a web page and gave the name of the student who sent the email to Mrs. Walker. Discuss with the students to understand both sides of the problem. Finding out what get rid of her meant is an important component. Get rid of her, again, can mean two different things. Randy was able to make justification to the meaning of get rid of her. They were plotting a way to get her fired from her position. Randy discussed and explained to Dr. Forbes that many students are frustrated with the workload in the course. Other students also came forward to express their concerns. Randy was given 3 days out of school suspension regarding the incidents. This was district policy. There were no police officers contacted at this time. The technology department concluded that another student, Johnny Angry, used the district email to send the message to Mrs. Walker. Johnny was questioned by Dr. Forbes, and Johnny admitted that he had sent the email on Friday. Since Johnny used the email account at school, his rights to the district email was suspended for the remainder of the year. He will be set up with an alternative email that will be monitored by the administrator. Since Johnny violated the district policy, technology policy, his privileges were removed. The email, along with other documentation, will be saved and placed in a file. Mrs. Walker is going to be updated and notified regarding the consequences. Technology will be carefully monitored regarding the students in the next couple of months and probably longer. Problem reflection: while reading this case, my immediate reaction was call the cops. You know, she's been threatened. However, taking time to reflect back, I realized there were many other factors that played a role into the email website. Definitions and meanings can be taken out of context, so it's important to learn the facts before taking drastic action. While listing the steps of actions, I tried to focus on the big picture, but also working on taking steps to ensure to prevent it from happening again. Unresolved: the problem regarding Mrs. Walker is still unresolved. Since she didn't make any changes with recommendations were suggested, I don't know, will she use this opportunity to make changes? Hopefully, you know, we can fix that. Standard 5, demonstrating integrity and ethical behavior. I really feel that in this case, I acted on that by showing concern regarding Mrs. Walker's email and the problem. Both students were given consequences based on their involvement and the level of involvement. Students were treated with respect while questioning them about the situation. Parents were also notified, and a conference was being held to ensure the understanding. Treating people fairly, adequately, and with dignity. Randy and Johnny were treated fairly regarding their involvement. Mrs. Walker wasn't involved in the investigation, but was given updated information and findings. All the people involved were treated respectfully while investigating. Personal and professional code of ethics. When Mrs. Walker called and was worried about the message on the website, I immediately assured her that it would be taken care of on Monday morning, and it was. I did whatever I could to make Mrs. Walker feel safe until the situation was taken care of, and that was also done with the students. I really enjoyed going through this case. It's kind of a neat experience to go ahead and, you know, because these are cases we may have as future administrators. So thanks a lot.